from April's Home, and Happy New Year. If you are new to my channel, welcome. My name is April and I do homemaking videos, grocery hauls, and recipes. So today I thought I would come here and share with you some of my New Year's goals. I've got my new notebook here ready for the new year with the different goals that I've set for myself for the new year. Got a cup of tea here. My new favorite Twinings Irish breakfast tea that you'll see in my grocery hauls almost every single time. I've also got some books to share with you, as well as some things that I've been cooking around the house to start the new year. My New Year's soup, I'll show some clips of that, as well as how I've decorated my living room and mantle for the new year. I thought I would get everything cleaned up from Christmas and make everything nice and simple. So before we get started with my goals, I thought I would share with you some of the clips of my home and some of the things that I've been up to in the new year so far. Here I've got my celery and onion all chopped up for my New Year's soup that I'm getting started with this morning. And I'm about to get some beef bones out of the oven that have been roasting as well. And to add to the soup, I've got a big tray here of roasted soup bones. I like to roast them in the oven before I add them to my soup. And it helps render out some of the fat and get them kind of cooking in a nice flavor. So I've got a lot of soup bones here, so I'm going to go ahead and add some to my soup today, and I'm also going to add some to a crock pot and work on some beef broth. And here's the start of our soup today. I've got the beef bones in here. I've added some beef broth to this, onions, some frozen crinkle cut carrots today. I'm also going to be adding more mixed veggies and kale and turnips to this here in just a bit. So that's the start of my New Year's soup today. And here are a few of my turnips. I'm ready to chop these up and get them in my soup as well. I absolutely love adding turnips to soups, especially in the winter time. I just love the flavor that the turnips add. I think that they're really a unique flavor. And here are my turnips all chopped up and ready to go in. I did take off the peel a bit and the end pieces and chopped the rest, and they're ready to go in the soup as well. So there, the turnips are added, and I'm just going to let this soup cook away. I'm going to add some salt and pepper and some Italian seasonings and things, get a lid on this, get it to a low simmer, let that simmer away for the day. And later on in the day I'll be adding some mushrooms and some more veggies, and I'm going to cook up a little bit of stew meat to add a little bit of meat to this soup. And later we'll be serving it with some barley that I also add and cook up. So we'll be adding a lot to this soup throughout the day. I love it to be packed full of veggies and flavor, and it just is such a nutritious way to start the new year. We'll also, of course, be adding some black-eyed peas, just a nod to the new year also. So that is our soup for now, and I'll come back and show you what that looks like as it keeps going throughout the day. My soup is coming along nicely. I've added in a pack of frozen mixed veggies, as well as some of these Italian recipe tomatoes, the diced ones, that already have some garlic, oregano, and basil. It just helps with flavor there. And I've also got here a pack of stew meat and a pack of little sliced portobello mushrooms sauteing up. I like to sear the meat a little bit, as well as start softening up the mushrooms. My husband really likes his mushrooms to be cooked. And sometimes they don't cook up very thoroughly in a soup unless you cook it all day. So anyway, got that, and I'm going to be adding that to the soup, as well as half a bag here of barley, pearl barley, that I have rinsed and drained here. So we're going to add that to the soup. I'm going to go ahead and bring that back up to a boil and add in all the meat and mushrooms and let that cook away. And at the very end, I'll be rinsing up and chopping up some kale and adding that. Probably in about an hour, I'll add some black-eyed peas. I just love to let this soup cook all day long, develop some really nice flavor. So I'm going to go ahead and add the meat and mushrooms now, and I'll also add a couple of bay leaves. So I've got my little bits of stew meat added, my barley you can see in there, and the mushrooms. And now I'm going to go ahead and add a couple of bay leaves. I probably should have added these in the morning when I first started this soup, but I often forget to add bay leaves, but they're really wonderful in beef soup. I let them cook in there the whole time, and then I pluck them out before I serve the soup. Also going to let the soup bones continue to simmer away in here, and I'll remove those right before I finish up this soup as well. So I'm going to go ahead and let this cook for another hour, add the beans, and then right before I serve it, I'll add the kale. So I'll come back and show you in a little while the progress of our soup here. And here's how my New Year's Day soup turned out. You can see it's just chocked full of veggies there. I've also made up some little round pasta to go in it. We really love that. This is some sourdough bread with butter. You can see all the mixed veggies in there, the kale that I added at the end, and also our black-eyed peas that we added in there for New Year's tradition. So that is our New Year's Day soup, and we're about to enjoy that. It's definitely a great way to start off the new year with a healthful bowl of soup like this. Here's my mantle for January. I cleared away all the holiday things that were on this, and always in January I like a nice simple decor. So I just kept out the white and wood beaded garland here from Christmas and added a couple of faux succulent balls here off to the side, here and here. Some little wax candles, electric candles in my little candle holders. There's my big letter M that I always have. And in the center here is my little beeswax candle holder. Then I thought for the new year, I like the idea of the passing of time. So I put out this Crosley clock and an hourglass. Kind of go along with a sort of like hourglass and time and the changing of the new year. So that's my January mantle. A little fire here, as well as a basket of toys for my grandson. So be sure and come back next month when I show you how I decorate this for Valentine's Day. Here's how I've done my little side hall table here. Again, you can see some of the little hourglasses that I've set out, just 2 little tiny hourglasses and my little wooden houses and some faux olive branches. I'm just keeping it very, very simple this winter, and I really like the way this looks. And here's my little bookcase that I have in my living room. I keep some of my DVDs down there, and these are also for DVDs. Just set out a little faux topiary with my little willow tree figures. A little boy and a little girl. I got these back when my children were little. Then up above here, some more faux greenery here in little pots. I just wanted to bring in some greenery, but of course I didn't want to put live plants on my bookcases, so I would avoid getting water stains near my books and things. I got this cute little dog clock at Hobby Lobby. Thought he was really cute. This is a little camera vase that my daughter and daughter-in-law made for me when they were in college pottery class. And these are some of my field guides. And then up above here, these are more of my field guides. These are all my little golden guides. I think they're so colorful and pretty. I've put them in between these little bookends. Added some little faux ferns on either side. And then these little foxes are really adorable. I just love these. They are Beatrix Potter figures. This one is Royal Albert Foxy Whiskered Gentleman. Thought he was adorable. I love foxes and little woodland animals and things like that. Here's the other one. Here he is with his little cane, his walking stick. Mr. Todd, Beatrix Potter figures by Royal Albert. So just really adorable little characters. I thought that they looked really cute with the golden guides there. So that's my little shelf in the living room. Just nice and simple. I'll probably keep this as my year-round decor. I really like the way that looks, and I'll add some seasonal touches for the different holidays. Here's our other little living room bookcase. We just put this here. This is where the tree was, and before it used to be a DVD cupboard, but I'm putting my DVDs into the little books, the little notebooks, to keep them a little bit more streamlined. So here's our little llama picture that I just absolutely love. Just makes me laugh and makes me happy every time I see it. My little gray salt lamp, and just some little simple decorations for the new year. Again, I'll be adding Valentine touches to this here any day now. These are the books that I'm currently reading. A little wooden llama, a little lacing activity for my grandson. Some of the books that I have out here for him. Some little wooden stacking games and a little Fisher-Price toy, a couple little Fisher-Price toy and some toy horses. It's just a little bookcase there to kind of have some things out for my grandson as well as a spot for my books. One of the things my grandson absolutely loves to do when he's here is walk around and look at all my things. So I carry him around and we talk about all the things that are out, and he has taken to waving at each of the llamas, and I think it's absolutely adorable. So he's loving the llamas just as much as I do, so I thought that that was really fun. So I thought today I would make a simmering pot. It's something I wanted to do all winter. Thought it would be a nice way to scent the home with natural items and just have that delicious homey scent flowing throughout my house. So I've got a little cast iron pot here, and I do have a glass top stove, so I'm going to be very, very careful when I place it down. It's not a really big one. Sort of an in-between sized one. I believe it is a 2-quart Lodge cast iron pot. So what I have here to put in today is I have an apple that I'm going to go ahead and stud with some whole cloves, a cinnamon stick, some rosemary from the garden. I'm going to slice some orange slices, and I've got a few leftover cranberries to go ahead and add to the simmering pot. And then I'll put some water in this and then put this on the stove to simmer throughout the day. So first I'm going to peel just the center of my apple. This is what I do when I make mulled apple cider as well. I always float some studded apples to add some nice spicy scent. This apple's getting a little bit soft, so I thought it would be perfect for this project. Could also put the peel in the water as well. So that's going to have some nice apple scent. Let's tap out a few cloves and just stud them along the side of the apple here. And this little tiny cutting board, which is perfect for this project, was gifted to me by my daughter-in-law, and she had it engraved with April's Home. I thought that that was so cute. So a perfect little cutting board with the name of my channel there and my blog. It was started back in 2009. Here's my simmering pot on the burner here. I'm gonna put this on high just to bring it to a little bit of a simmer quicker, and then I'm gonna turn that all the way down to a low simmer so that this can bubble and steam throughout the day. It's very important to keep watch on it to make sure that your water level doesn't dip too low. You don't want to let this boil dry. That wouldn't be good. You can just keep adding water throughout the day and let it simmer and scent your home. Things we've been up to, making lots of delicious homemade soups and recipes. I have a recipe here to share with you in a few days. I've got my decor nice and simple for the new year. And also now I have my New Year's goals. So before I get into the New Year's goals, I'd like to show you a little close-up of this notebook and how I have it set up. I buy a 6-pack of these notebooks every other year or so, and I use 2 a year, one for my budget and one for my household planning. So I'm going to go ahead now and show you a close-up of how I've got my goals started. So every year I start a new household notebook. I use these little Mead 5-star notebooks here. These are a little bit smaller than normal. I think they're like, I want to say they're 5 by 7. Something along those lines, a little bit smaller ones anyway. And then I, label the front page here, 2021 Household Notebook. This is where I do my meal planning, my goals, my ideas, my holiday planning, different family events, and different weekends and vacations. And I always leave a blank page in here just to kind of have a little spacer. And then I start with my New Year goals. So that's how I have this notebook set up. If I can find the link to these notebooks, I will include that link in the description box below. But to go ahead and get started on some of my New Year's goals, I thought that I would share first with you the verse that I thought would sort of guide my year. Some years I pick a word to guide my year, and sometimes I pick a verse or just a concept. Last year, I really wanted to focus on creating rather than consuming, and I did okay with that. I definitely met a lot of my no-spend goals last year and really worked on decluttering and simplifying, but I still have a long way to go. However, this year, this verse I kept hearing it over and over. So often when I hear a verse like that, a Bible verse, I'll take note of that, and it really struck a chord with me the first time I heard it. I think the last person I heard mention this was the Living on a Dime to Grow Rich, the author of Dining on a Dime cookbook. I watch her vlogs for really good homemaking tips and things like that to stay frugal, and she mentioned this verse. I know I've heard other vloggers mention this verse as well, so I just thought that it was a wonderful verse. It is 1 Thessalonians 4:11 through 12. And it says this: "And to make it your ambition to lead a quiet life, you should mind your own business and work with your hands, just as we told you, so that your daily life may win the respect of outsiders, and so that you will not be dependent on anyone." Again, that's 1 Thessalonians 4:11 through 12. And the part I really loved was the ambition to lead a quiet life and to mind your own business and work with your hands. Those are all very good reminders for me as I work here in my home as a housewife. So that's my guiding verse of the year. Just want to make sure I'm always doing that, just being a positive person. I still want to be so much more creative this year. Lots of cooking, sewing, gardening, things like that. Things that I absolutely love and have loved for years. Okay, so my goals. This year I didn't do a super structure. Sometimes I have very structured goals. Or resolutions, and other times I just have sort of some guiding ideas. So let's go ahead and get started. So I've written 10 goals for the new year, and my first one is to improve on my housekeeping routine. I would love to get into a routine where I do certain chores on certain days and just develop a routine about that. I've never really done that. I used to do it a little bit when my kids were younger. It was a little easier to follow a schedule when my children were school aged. So if you're new here, my children are all grown up. They are married adults. I have a son and a daughter, and they're both married. And I have a little grandson who I absolutely love and adore and enjoy spending time with very much. So back when the kids were little and in school, it was easier to follow a schedule. When it's just me and my husband here, sometimes it's a little easy to just let things go, but I would really like to develop a housekeeping routine this year. So that's something that I'm going to be working on this month. Then I'll probably come up with a routine, try it out, and if that doesn't work, I'll kind of tweak it throughout the year and see if that improves on the ability to just keep up with housework, as well as just making it a little bit easier. So then my second one is to continue on my journey of decluttering and simplifying. I have been really focused on decluttering over the last couple of years. I really love to collect things. That's just my personality. I'm a collector. I love books. So that can get out of hand very quickly and very easily. But the last couple of years I've been very good about not bringing in quite as many things, as well as decluttering the things that I'm no longer using. I also spent a lot of time at the end of last year selling some of the things I'm no longer using on eBay and donating some things as well. So I'm just going to continue working on that. I've got plans to continue decluttering. The biggest one would be my garage. That's sort of the last big room to do. And I've got 3 rooms that I'm still not quite happy with. My office, I'm really bad at organizing paperwork, and it's something that I would really love to tackle this year. So I will continue tackling those rooms throughout the year. You don't have to make new goals every year. You can just keep adding the same goal every year until you complete it. I, for years, had the goal on my New Year's goal list. Every single year I would have the goal, read the entire Bible. It wasn't until about, I think it was 3 years ago, that I finally managed to make it all the way through the Bible in 1 year. So definitely keep putting those goals back on your list. If they're a worthy enough goal and you really care about it, keep putting it on your list until you accomplish it. It's okay if you didn't accomplish it in 1 year's time. It might take a very long time. It might take a decade, but it's definitely worth it. It was so wonderful when I finally accomplished that, and I was just really, really happy about that. So anyway, back to my goals here. Another goal, another replay from last year and really the year before. Focus less on buying things. So I'm just like I said, I love to collect things. I enjoy going out in stores, although I haven't been out much this past year. I definitely enjoy buying things. And then when you're at home all the time, it's very tempting to look at what online stores have, and I definitely want to focus a lot less on buying things. So I'd like to focus more on using the things I have here or making things and things like that. So just in general, buying less things. I would love, goal number 4 would be to get back into sewing and felting. I intended to do that last year, and I got so busy with finishing up my house remodel. We painted and added new floors to the house. I got so busy with that that I didn't get back into my sewing and felting, which I absolutely love to do. I would love to share that with you here on the channel, perhaps some needle felting. So I definitely want to get back into that. A new one on my list, goal number 5, is for Bible study and journaling schedule, to have a better schedule. I used to have a very regular schedule with that based on going to church, but because we haven't had much in-person church, I've gotten really lax with my Bible studying and my journaling schedule. So I definitely want to implement some sort of a daily reading and studying and journaling schedule. That's something I would like to do. Goal number 6 is to cook a lot of wholesome old-fashioned foods. I've been really inspired by some of the things I've been reading and watching. And I just love old-fashioned cookery, so that's what I'd like to focus on this year. It's my favorite type of cooking to do, so I'm definitely going to continue exploring that and hopefully have a lot of recipes to share with you throughout this year. Goal number 7 is to enjoy nature more and more consistently. I really want to get out on walks. There's a lot of beautiful nature areas to walk around here where I live, and I would love to explore those, as well as maybe take some little weekend excursions to a little bit further away places and just enjoy that nature more. And if I can't get out on an excursion, just enjoy that nature in my own backyard or at a local park. So I definitely want to enjoy nature more consistently. And then goal number 8, going back to my old-fashioned cookery, another thing that I would like to have, another one of my goals, is for that cooking to be seasonal cooking. So seasonal cooking, seasonal homemaking, and of course seasonal gardening. So I'm really trying to journal the year in my personal journal, kind of take a look at seasonal cooking, homemaking, and gardening, and just think of the homemaker's year. So that's a real goal of mine this year, to kind of work within the seasons of the year and what that looks like, and share some of those recipes and homemaking and gardening throughout the year. So then goal number 9 would be to be better prepared for forest fire season. We had to evacuate for the first time ever last September, and it was extremely disturbing. I was not ready for that. I did quickly pack up quite a bit of the things, but in retrospect, as we were evacuated for nearly, I think it was nearly 2 weeks long before we came back, before the smoke cleared enough to be healthy to come back to our home. Boy, I realized as I was sitting in different locations, like what I left in my home that I would really have wanted to bring with me. So one step I've already taken to that is I made sure to buy from Amazon some inexpensive like sort of like luggage bags, but collapsible ones, so that I can store them, but also so that I know which one goes for what type of things, because there's clothes to bring and just daily essentials, but also all of the files, all the memorabilia, a very special thing that I want to bring. I definitely want to be better prepared for forest fire season. That was one of the more frightening things that I've experienced in my life. And yeah, so I want to be better prepared for that. I want to better prepare my garden. It did kind of put a negative ending on my garden last year. I didn't finish my garden vlogs that I had been doing because when we came back from the forest fires, the garden was covered in a pretty extreme amount of ash, large big pine needle ash, and also a lot of wild animals had come through my garden and stripped off all my grapes and eaten some of my fruit, which I was really glad actually that it was there for them. So I feel like my garden still did its job, and I was really happy that it was there for whatever critters had to come through and find something to eat during such a horrible time. So that being said, I definitely want to get the garden back up and running, and this time kind of think of what we could do to be better prepared in general for the forest fire season. So that's definitely a huge goal of mine. It's nothing I've ever had to do in the past, or at least I didn't realize it was something that could actually happen. So I know we're very close. We live in Oregon in a rural town. It's actually kind of previously it was a logging town. We are surrounded by Christmas tree farms and of course a lot of forests just on the outskirts of town. But I never realized that it could come in that close. So that's something I will keep in mind this year and continue preparing for, so that I'm not caught off guard this next year if it should happen again, or future years should it happen in the future. And then also my last goal, number 10, I had only 9 goals, but I had to have 10. So I went back to the verse and I looked through it and thought, what more did I need to take from this verse? And I picked the mind your own business part. So just a goal to mind my own business and continue to work on just minding my own business, not gossiping, not concerning myself with things that I can't control, which is a big thing in the world right now. So just to mind my own business and to lead that quiet life. So that is my goal, my list of 10 goals for the new year. I hope you enjoyed hearing those, and I'll have to share some of my progress throughout the year if I can remember to do that, but hopefully you'll see some of these goals in the new year as I share wholesome old-fashioned cooking recipes and things like that. So now I'm going to go ahead and take a quick sip of tea, and then I'll share with you some of the things that I've been reading this year so far. So I definitely love to read. I've always been a big reader. I love books and things. I do share occasionally my book hauls with you. I would love to share a few more book reviews, but we'll see how that goes. For now, I just thought I'd share a few of the books that I'm reading right now, and perhaps at some point in the future I'll share some of the books that I read last year. A Goodreads goal last year was to read 30 books, and I did not meet my goal. I only read 14 books last year, but they were all really good. And so this year I've set the goal higher. I actually still want to read more books, but I set the goal at 50 books because a lot of the books that I read are like little short ones like this that are children's literature. I'm very interested in old-fashioned children's literature. It's really inspiring to me. It always has been. I also mix in a lot of nonfiction books that help with my homekeeping and things like that. And of course I do read some fun fiction from time to time as well. But right now I am reading this. I actually started this book at the end of last year, and it's my goal to read through the entire set of books that I have. I think the author's name is pronounced Thornton W. Burgess. I may be wrong. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And these little books here come from Dover Publications. They're very inexpensive. But Thornton Burgess writes wonderful little stories about animals. They are a lot like Beatrix Potter, which I love. I love Beatrix Potter. And so I thought that I would read the entire series. Here you can take a look. Let's see if that will show up there. Here's the book. This one that I'm reading currently is Old Mother West Wind. They're little stories that go on in this little world of animals, and you can see their little animals are dressed up in little outfits, and they're just really adorable little stories. They all have a little tiny bit of a moral lesson in them as well, an old-fashioned moral lesson, and I just think they're adorable. So I've been enjoying reading these. I'm nearly done with this one here, about 3/4 of the way through. Every time I feel like reading something really short, I read it. There's a bunch of little individual stories in here. So I'll pick up this book with a cup of tea and read a story or two in this. I've got about, probably at least 20 books by him to read through, and my goal is to read through them. So it should be really fun to be able to read through these. Just think it would be neat to kind of read something so similar to Beatrix Potter. I will probably read my Beatrix Potter books again this year as well. I've got a lot of books here in the dining room here, my dining room library, that I would really love to read. But this is one that I'm reading now and really enjoying. And then another one that I haven't started yet, it just came in the mail. It is a devotional that I'm going to be starting. Something that I've been really into, again, at the beginning of the year. After the holidays, I started watching through one of my all-time favorite shows, Little House on the Prairie. I was obsessed when I was a young child and it was on TV. If I was misbehaving, my punishment was to miss Little House on the Prairie. I'm sure I've shared that before, but yes, that's how much I loved it. It was a very effective motivator to behave correctly so that I wouldn't have to miss my favorite program, Little House on the Prairie. So I found this. I've got a lot of books. Again, this another goal of mine is to read through Little House on the Prairie. I don't know if I'll read through it all in one year. I have in the past. It's a wonderful book series, but I would like to read them again. It's been probably at least a decade since I've read through all of them. This is by Wendy Lou Lee. She played Baby Grace on Little House on the Prairie. And this is called A Prairie Devotional inspired by the beloved TV series. So I just thought this would be a really fun book to go along with my Bible study and just the old-fashioned cooking and housekeeping and things like that. So I thought it would go well with that. I'll have to let you know what I think of this one as well. Again, I'll be getting started on this probably tomorrow or even maybe later today if I have time. So that's another book I'm reading now. And then this one is really cool. This is called The Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady by Edith Holden. Here's what this one looks like. It's really pretty. It says it's a charming portrait of the English countryside, and it's a facsimile edition of Edith Holden's original 1906 diary. It's filled with exquisite watercolor paintings and delightful observation of the changing seasons. So I thought that I would keep this book out year-round and follow it through the seasons, again, to go along with my seasonal cooking, homemaking, and gardening. Thought this would be the perfect book. It's really beautiful. I don't think it's cloth bound, but it's hardcover made to kind of look like cloth bound. Let me just show you some of the inside here. It looks like somebody's personal journal. She's got botanical drawings and animal drawings, and it's her actual like handwriting, or at least I think it's the actual handwriting of her journal. This would be a goal to make a journal like this of my own. I think it's so beautiful. So I'm really excited about this. Here's January's entry. It says like a little poem and something about January and the holidays in January. Here it says on January 1st is New Year's Day. January 6th is the 12th day or Epiphany. And a little bit about how January got its name. It says here some of the mottos of January. It says, a wet January, a wet spring. Well, I'll tell you, we've had an extremely wet January. It has been rain, rain here almost nonstop for us, including a very large storm that took down quite a bit of power and trees just the other day. Here we have some leaves that it's talking about, just some of her observations, and then we go into February. It's just a beautiful book. And I'm excited to follow this throughout the year. So again, that's The Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady. And then the last book that I thought I would share that I'm currently reading, this is The Brambly Hedge Library. It's got all little 8 books in it. Again, this is a children's story. I love children's literature. And this little library contains all 8 of the books that Jill Barklam wrote. Of the Brambly Hedge. And again, the focus on this is very old-fashioned, very seasonal living, and the pictures in this just completely inspire me. So again, there's winter, spring, summer, and autumn story, those 4 stories based on the seasons. And then 4 additional stories called Poppy's Babies, Sea Story, The High Hills, and The Secret Staircase. I've not read the last 4, so that's something that I'm definitely going to be reading. I also have been watching the old animated series of this. They have a playlist on YouTube here of the Brambly Hedge old little stop motion animated films. They are so adorable and so sweet. And the little images and stories are just so fun to look at and see. So I've really been enjoying having that on in the background as well. It's really pleasant. So here's the winter story. I'll kind of share this with you since we're in winter right now. So here's Winter Story, if you're not familiar with the Brambly Hedge. Let me find some illustrations so you can see. The Brambly Hedge is about families of mice that have made their homes in the roots and trunks of the trees of Brambly Hedge, and all the little things that they do throughout the seasons. You can see some of the beautiful pictures here. Nice, cozy, warm by the fire. The illustrations are just amazing. Here you can see their little cupboard and their little dining room area. It's just absolutely wonderful. So I've been reading that and enjoying that very much. Yeah, so you'll hear more about Brambly Hedge throughout the year. I want to do a few fun things associated with Brambly Hedge. I'll also be doing some decorating with some little Brambly Hedge figurines that I have, and I'll be sharing those with you throughout the year as well. So that is what I've been reading, and those are my goals for the new year. I would like to, at minimum, do at least a monthly vlog so that you can see some of the things I'm doing each month throughout the year, but I may be able to do a couple each month. We'll have to see how my schedule goes. I'll be trying to share a lot of recipes. Again, like I said, I have a recipe coming up for a new casserole that I recently made. It was delicious, so I'll be sharing that with you in a couple of days. And I'll also continue doing my monthly grocery hauls and meal plans. And I'll be back in February when I switch up my decor from my simple New Year's decor and add in some Valentine touches. So I'll be back with my Valentine's decor, as well as some of the fun things that we'll be doing around here for Valentine's Day. And I hope everyone is having a good week. I would love to hear in the comments below some of the goals that you're working on this year, or if you have a word of the year or a verse of the year that you would like to share, go ahead and do that in the comments below. I would love to read that. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe for more videos from April's Home. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Goodbye.